everyone, and welcome back to Girl Dad. I'm Abigail Frechette,
And I'm Peter Frechette.
and we are recording a little bit later this week because we've been busy. Um,
You have
but
for sure.
yeah. So should we just get into it?
Absolutely. No
All right.
preparation at all. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna start with time for sports time.
Time for sports time. I did look at the outline briefly, and
Yeah.
it was painful with what you put in there. So I may not say much about the Red Sox because they stink. So that's my time for sports time about that.
Well, they're what, 7 and 11? Is
Oh,
that?
I think you're being generous, but
Oh, really?
maybe they are. I don't know.
I can pull it
It's
up really quick.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just it has not been good.
They are 7 and
Um,
11.
oh,
Okay.
good job.
Well, they won
7-Eleven.
two series in the middle there. So,
Yes, and they had a 3-3 road trip.
yeah.
But it started out by winning two out of three, and then looked awful in the first two
Yeah.
games against Minnesota. So,
Yeah.
um,
At Target Stadium.
but oh, nice. Is it
Well,
Target? I believe it's Target Field,
okay,
actually.
yeah, that makes more sense. But I know that random bit of knowledge because of, do you remember when we went to the flagship Target store?
I do.
Yeah.
That was when for Jack's wedding, as I
Yeah.
recall.
Which is it's near Minneapolis. I don't know if it's in the,
Yes, nephew, cousin Jack. You should go back and listen to his podcast, one of the greats of the Girl
yeah.
Dad era, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that's what we got for the Sox. They're not doing great.
You never know. Never
But
know.
yeah, yeah, baseball's weird. It's a long
Long season.
season.
Long season. Still April. It's barely
Um,
halfway through April. So,
a season that is starting to come to an end. Premier League, Fulham are now in 12th, which,
oh, yes.
guys,
No, that's talking
but
about middle of the road.
they play uh they play a derby technically this weekend.
The Derby being a game against another team from London. Is that correct?
Well, specifically from West London, so that like it's like a closer one.
West London
Like,
Derby.
yeah, the Derby thing is weird because it's like there's rivalries and then there's derbies, and I think derbies are like it's
Geographic.
more of a location thing than,
Yeah.
but some of those are big rivalries also, so it's very fluid.
Okay. Put a stamp on
Anyways,
every game. The Red Sox have their big rival, the Yankees, coming in next
right?
week. So
Hope to be
there's
there.
that. I hope you can.
But yeah, so Fulham they're in 12th, but we play Brentford this weekend, who are in 7th, but our point division is 3 points. So if we
So
beat Brentford, we could theoretically jump over them. Obviously, there's teams in between us, so like their games, it won't necessarily mean like we go to 7th, but like
it'd be huge.
it would be a big thing.
Yeah.
Um, the game is airing here at 7:30 a.m., so that'll be fun for me. Anyways,
Oh, I'll watch. I mean, maybe
yeah.
I'll let mom sleep in. I can watch the whole thing before she gets up.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it might be a fun game. Both of these teams are
Where is
like,
that game?
I think it's at Brentford,
Uh,
which
in
is,
West London.
yeah, so it's not like they gotta travel far. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right.
Keep you updated. Leaving time for sports time and moving into not breaking news, which this week does happen to be sports related.
Really? What is that?
So I want to talk about something because I am fascinated by this. So Mike Vrabel, that's how
Oh
you say
boy.
his name, right?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Okay. Do you
My
know?
doppelganger.
Yeah, that was weird. Please explain to the people.
Oh yes. Abby and I were out for lunch, and the waiter at Not Your Average Joe's came up and said, "Wait, are you on TV?" And I said, "No." You look really familiar. And I said, "Mike Vrabel?" No. And I
Yo,
go,
you just
"No." I
said
said,
Patriots
"I said
coach.
Patriots coach." He goes, "Yeah, Mike Vrabel. That's it. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
not me. No."
Yeah.
And Yes, brother Uncle Harry has compared me to
Yeah,
Mike Vrabel as well. So
I
it was
don't
not the
really
first
see
time.
I don't really see it, but maybe. I don't
Well,
know.
let me just say that I have not been fooling around with any sports
Well,
reporters
this
by
is
the pool in
yeah.
Phoenix
So for
or
those of you
Sedona or wherever.
not in the know, um, Mike Vrabel was caught in some, I'm gonna say
Questionable.
low-key questionable, not compromising photos
Yes,
with Sports Insider, NFL Insider, Diana Russini.
yes.
Yes.
Formerly of
Um,
ESPN, now or was with the Athletic at the
yeah.
time, has since
So,
resigned.
so I want to talk about this because I think if you're like really interested in this story, you should go listen to the Sports Gossip Podcast, which that's what it's called. It's called the Sports Gossip Podcast. It's great. It's very fun. It's done by two women who, and they are under the athletic, but like they are not the athletic employees. Does that make sense? Like they're part of their podcast network, but they can
Mm,
talk about this without like
yeah,
talking about like they're not
yeah,
hiding stuff, I guess, if that
right.
makes sense. Um, but the one of the points that they outlined really well because they have like a vast knowledge of sports reporting that I don't have is that is the way that like the sexism of this is happening, which I think is something that really bothers me. So I like we're not talking about sports really at this point. Like this is about people, but as so a lot of coaches and people who are in the team's like top layers of the team, I guess. They have close relationships, particularly with these people who are called insiders. So every league has what are called insiders, and their job is to get close to these people to get information out of them before it's made public. Um, it's a it's not a new concept, but it's a newer concept because originally these people were not under like larger media brands. They were like individual reporters who did like their stuff on Twitter. And then a lot of them got hired by these bigger companies because they were getting scoops before them. So there's already with this insider position, like an establishment of a more complicated relationship than reporter subject, right? It's there's more of an intimacy there because you're trusting that they're giving specific information. Also, coaches and teams will kind of like use these insiders sometimes to like put forward information they want out there so that they can get a better contract. Like an athlete can get a better contract or a coach can get like more money, stuff like that, right? So
And this is just not limited to sports, just to be
absolutely.
clear.
Absolutely. But this is sports.
Yeah.
And I think something that is present with this subject is that Diana is a woman. And while, like, if we're going to take the idea that both of these people are cheating on their partners out of this for the moment, and that this is like, because that I can't condone in any capacity, like, anywhere. So, like, we're taking that out of this because I just want to talk about the sexism of the issue. There have been a lot of these insiders who are known to like send articles that they're gonna post to these coaches like beforehand. That is an intimate relationship. And that is what these people should be like fired for, right? Because that is clear that they're not really reporting for the sake of like an audience to get the information. They're reporting to help these coaches and teams and stuff. So if she has a very close relationship with Mike Vrabel, which we know she does because of her reporting, that's the problem. Not that maybe they're having an affair. That's a whole nother like problem. It's just that they have this incredibly close relationship. And if they were having an affair, it might mean like that relationship's even closer. but it's no different than like a friendship, right? And so I think the problem is that those male reporters who have not been fired for sending articles to coaches before they're going to post them and other things like that, they're not getting treated the same way as Diana is. And I think there's also this kind of level of like, oh, it's about people's personal lives. So it's like, and it's a romantic thing. So there's a sex appeal to it, and there's this kind of like tabloidiness to it. So I think that's also just inherently like a sexist thing, also. But then also, like, Mike's not going to get fired for this. This is not going to change his career trajectory at all. This is not going to like change the way most Patriots fans or football fans look at him as a person, really. Like, I really don't think that's what's going to happen. His team is still going to think he's the guy with the good vibes, which is like what his coaching style is known for. So I just feel like it what bothers me is the way it's being discussed and talked about. Um, yeah.
I'm curious as when you say how it's being discussed and talked about, and I also, um, I, while I have no doubt and that there is sexism in a lot of situations,
Mhm.
um, just a couple of things. Um, One is, and the big one is, and maybe I'm just being naive.
No,
She
that's fine.
wasn't fired; she resigned,
Well,
and
yeah.
and the problem is that and yeah, the pictures are the reason she resigned.
Yeah.
And the pictures are the reason that there is suspicion that she's getting inside information
Right.
from this coach. And if um, if there was I mean, and I don't listen to sports radio as much as I used to, but I when I do, I'm very aware that the guys on sports radio, and this is a level thing, the guys on sports radio have suspicions about certain NFL insiders who are reporting
Yeah.
uh, what appears to be information coming from the Patriots front office directly that
Yeah.
is not necessarily being put out by the Patriots front office.
Right. Right.
And I guess what I'm saying, and like an Adam Schefter, I think is a guy that would be considered an NFL insider. And I don't know what the case would be if Mike Vrabel and Adam Schefter were spotted playing gambling at Foxwoods together.
Right.
Um, Whether that would change how the perception was of the insider.
So
And
I think
and
that,
what I'm just saying is that these pictures put her insiderness
yeah.
in a different light,
Yeah.
if you will.
Completely. And I'm not taking away from that. Like, I feel like that's where I'm saying this is wrong, but not because she's a woman. I think the difference between what you explained of like if what's it, sorry,
Adam
Schiffner,
Schefter.
Adam Schefter was caught playing poker with Mike Vrabel or whatever, we wouldn't be talking about this anymore. That's the difference. Is like, I think it would have been like, that's weird, but we already know the insiders have like weird relationships with people. The reason this is being talked about is because it's a possible sexual relationship between a man and a
Absolutely.
woman. And I
Absolutely.
think that that's the problem. And it's already like okay, so the women on the podcast I was talking about were kind of talking about like how there's already a barrier of entry for women reporters, specifically in like men's sports. And to get to the level Diana got to, you do cheat. Like, you have to cheat the system. But men cheat the system all the time too. So it's like to compare what she's possibly doing to like what men have been doing is like it's not like the way it's I'm trying to think about the way to say it because it like what they're doing is technically comparable, but the way it's being covered isn't. And it's not
Yeah,
necessarily that the coverage uses like sexist language. It's more just like how much coverage there is about it.
I just think that while it is um, being covered in the way that it is because she's a woman,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that completely. But
Mm-hmm.
it is being covered, but the perception of what is going on is because she's a woman, um,
Mm-hmm.
and and it is the perception is that she is getting inside information because of I don't want to say just because she's a woman who is and it's just a completely different relationship
Yeah.
than most likely that you would see with a man.
Oh,
Um,
for sure. But I think
and
that
and
that
I also I
isn't,
think that
yeah.
um, she is they are not the he is not the first coach to have a relationship with outside of his marriage,
Right.
and the problem and he's got to deal with that with his wife and see where that ends up. I was
Yeah.
just looking, there was a manager of the Red Sox back in the middle of the last decade who was in the middle of getting a divorce. And I don't know whether it was because he was having a relationship with a reporter or because his marriage was over, he decided to have a relationship with a reporter. But that relationship ended his career. If you look at, there was a coach of the Celtics 3 years ago who had a relationship not with a reporter but with a staff member,
Mm.
and that got him fired.
Well, that's
Um,
different because that has like power
yeah,
dynamics and stuff. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. But there's these things are not pretty at any time.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I think it's just, I guess my like final point with it is that Diana and other insiders like her, their job is to get close to people at the top of these teams, whether it's athletes, coaches, whoever. That is her job is to get close to these people. And for the most part, what they do is they do become, there's a blurry line there. I think the difference is that most of the people in her position are men, so that blurry line doesn't seem as bad or as
no, it's just not as clear.
fascinating.
It's just not as
It's just we can't say, oh, because they're in a sexual relationship, like this is now a different problem. But it's like you can be just as intimate friends with someone as someone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's a
yeah.
greater problem with the way that we discuss friendship and romantic relationships, but it's like coming out in this very weird scenario because I also am not on anyone's side here. Like, I just think this is bad,
Well, I
but it's
just think
also,
it's very bad, and it's. I just think it made the insiderness of it public,
yeah,
and it creates doubt within the fandom as
yeah,
to whether or not what she's saying is accurate or just one sided,
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
and which is what is suspected of a lot of insiders, um, but without this of their insiderness, there you can't really say.
Yeah,
Um, we're kind of going off from what we're going to talk about today,
yeah,
because I could take this in a completely
I
different
know.
direction, but I'll leave it alone.
We'll go to our main topic, which is also kind of a trending thing right now, which is tickets. So I am actually gonna read, I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna read an article from Vulture completely because there's some. law
I hope it's a
stuff.
short
It
article.
is a short article, I promise. And you're welcome to jump in if you want to stop me, but it is a short article. But there's some law and money stuff that I don't understand completely. So I feel like reading the article and then us talking about it after is the best way to present the information to people. So for those of you who don't know, a jury ruled that Live Nation, which is the owners of Ticketmaster, if you weren't aware, Live Nation violated antitrust laws to act as a monopoly. So this is from Vulture by Fran Hoffner. So on April 15th, a federal jury found that Live Nation, the concert and entertainment company that includes Ticketmaster, violated federal and state antitrust laws in acting as a monopoly. The ruling came after 4 days of jury deliberation. The Justice Department sued Live Nation 2 years ago with hopes of splitting up Ticketmaster and Live Nation, born out of continued frustration of concert goers at ballooning ticket prices, as seen with artists like Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and most recently, Harry Styles. The DOJ claimed at the time of the filing that Live Nation and Ticketmaster were violating 5 different parts of the Sherman Antitrust Act, including requiring artists to partner with Live Nation and having a monopoly on large venues and amphitheaters. In March of this year, Live Nation reached a settlement deal with the DOJ that it would allow third-party companies to use its technology to issue tickets. Additionally, Ticketmaster's contracts with venues would be capped at 4 years. The ruling today, however, will lead to both significant divestments, if not a separation between Live Nation and Ticketmaster, and some degree of monetary damages due to the 34 states that brought this lawsuit. Okay, so, um, okay, wait, there's one other sentence that I do think is funny that I need to put in here. Apparently, the jury found that Ticketmaster overcharged customers by a little less than $2, which is just not true. Like, that's just a lie. But that's what, like, I guess because of the way, like, math works and stuff, that's what they, like, broke it down to, but that's not evenly distributed. Um, so basically, what I'm getting from this whole thing is that Live Nation is a huge company in the particularly music scene, but also just like live entertainment in general. They own Ticketmaster, which is how, for the most part, we all get our tickets. But they also own a lot of venues. So if you go on to, like, I think the House of Blues in Boston is owned by Live Nation. Like, if you go on to a bunch of these, like, smaller concert venues, even in your area, you'll probably, if you scroll to the bottom, see the Live Nation logo. And I know this because when I was trying to apply to, like, work in concert venues, I was constantly applying through Live Nation, not through like these independent venues. So they make it seem like it's a small club, but no, it's part of this big conglomerate. So that because of they own the technology of Ticketmaster and they own the venues, they can do whatever the hell they want, is basically what the idea of like this monopoly is. Um, so what happened a little while ago with the settlement, which was in March, was that basically like Live Nation was like, okay, we'll do like a couple things here and there, and then can we just like make it go away? And now it's like, no, you can't do that. So
Well,
this is
that was
now,
current administration's Justice
yeah,
Department who said, "Yeah, we'll settle. Sure,
yeah,
go ahead." And
because
I'm sure somebody we know got their pockets filled a
oh,
little
of
bit,
course.
and from the Live Nation coffers to
Hmm.
uh, move that along,
Hmm.
and it was the states who said no, not so fast.
Exactly.
And yes, I heard the Attorney General of New York on television yesterday saying basically that same thing. And
Hmm.
obviously, this the ruling is to ideally is eventually to the benefit of the consumer.
Hmm.
I'm sure there is a lengthy round of appeals to occur before it ever gets
Absolutely.
taken care of. But the ideal situation would be to separate uh, clubs from people who sell tickets.
Yeah. And that's what
So,
they say when like the divestments. That's what that means is that like I think ideally what we would want is that Live Nation and Ticketmaster just become two separate companies. But I mean, ideally we'd want a lot more than that. But at the very least, that's what we would want. But there's still kind of some wiggle room that they won't become two separate companies and that they'll sell some stuff and then it'll be okay and all this kind of stuff. But I do think, given the ruling, that it's likely that this will end with them becoming two separate companies. Um,
well,
which,
I'm curious about because I don't know anything about it, but
yeah.
I if are the artists locked into using Ticketmaster
Hmm.
for to sell their tickets, and
Yeah.
is that who they have to use based on the venue that they're
Yes.
selling from?
Yes. So this is a huge part of the problem is that if you're an artist at the level of Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Harry Styles, but also like going smaller than that too. So when you book a tour, you don't book like, hey, I feel like I want to go to Boston this week and play at this club, and then a week later I'm gonna go to New York and play at this club. When you book a tour, you book it all together. And usually it'll be like you have your touring agent from like the artist side, but then they're usually working with someone in most cases from Live Nation who is putting together the dates that all of their venues are available because Live Nation, again, with like the big artists, it's kind of the only places they can go because they have all the large venues and like amphitheaters and stuff like that. But even with smaller artists, it's like, but they also own a lot of the smaller venues too. So there's not really anywhere else you can go besides Live Nation. And when you do that, they're because they own all the venues, they then can say to the artist, well, if you want to do this here, you have to use Ticketmaster. So
Right.
that's how the monopoly kind of like stays working is that like because Live Nation owns all the venues, the artists have to do what they say, kind of. They can't, like, that's why you've seen artists try to like go around this in different ways. I think Maggie Rogers was a big one I saw. But then it's like, but if you want to play Madison Square Garden, like, what are you supposed to do? That's a Live Nation related venue. Like, you know what I
And
mean?
as a counterpoint of that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at Fenway
Hmm.
and where Noah Khan is playing, and I don't think that was a Ticketmaster. Those tickets did not go through Ticketmaster. They went, God knows what they went through, but it was
They went,
awful.
so
It was,
that's, yeah, so that is a specific venue that Fenway Park is
right.
not a Live Nation venue, but most of the other venues he's going
Ballparks.
are
Yeah,
Live Nation. So that was,
right,
yeah, I know that from Reddit that we were dealing with, which unfortunately, because they don't have the technology of Ticketmaster, is also a horrible service that's even more horrible and delayed because it's like way ancient. But you're dealing with like MLB
right,
Fenway Park ticketing services.
right.
Um, so I think that this is something to just speaking about like monopolies in general. Obviously, there's tons of reasons to not want monopolies, right? I mean, pricing is a major one. But one of the big ones that I think sometimes we don't touch on enough is if you have a monopoly, there's no reason to better your product. There's no reason for creativity because you own it all. I talk about this a lot with friends when I talk about Apple, and how the iPhone has not really changed and evolved for the average user. I'm sure there's little things that like most people who are really techie are like, well, this is different, but like the iPhone I have now is exactly the same, in my opinion, as the iPhone I had when I first got an iPhone. And it's because, yes, they don't technically have a monopoly, but they've made certain things where, like the texting, it's like, yeah, but if you don't have an iPhone, then that's a whole, you're a green text
You're
message. You don't want to
green,
be a
exactly.
green
You're not.
bubble.
No, you want
Like
blue.
there is a monopoly-esque thing going on there. But their
Well, you had it
products,
all with their stupid power cables and then
oh God, yeah. Which is again, it's just money stuff. It's ridiculous. But I do think like that's a huge thing of like you're not developing a product that gets any better because you don't need to. People will buy the next one because that's what you're supposed to do, kind of thing. And also Apple makes products that are meant to die after a couple years. So, they've really done us major disservices, but that's fine. Moving back to ticketing. So, a lot of people have dealt with the Ticketmaster technology, and I would argue most of them think it's horrible. I don't know if you can speak from personal experience, but it's not good. And in more recent years, they've started doing things like, um, what's the term for it? Oh my God. It's not dysfunction. It's not, what's the word that starts with a D that like dynamic? Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
the dynamic pricing,
Yes, they've started doing dynamic pricing, which is basically like this product is
gouging.
really popular, so we're going to charge more for it. Which,
Yeah.
like, can be an okay concept if you're like an ecological friendly um small fashion brand that like doesn't want to make too many of a certain product if like it's not going to be popular, so you start pricing things that way. But we don't need that for tickets. We know Taylor Swift tickets are popular. You don't need to have dynamic pricing for Taylor Swift tickets. We know Beyonce and Harry Styles are going to sell out. You don't need dynamic pricing. But it's just another way for them to like secretly put in price gouging and not
Well,
call it that.
what is the advantage of dynamic pricing to the consumer? Is there any?
Well, in this circumstance, absolutely not. In the circumstances of like what I was talking about before, um, there are, so
To me, the only time a
I'm gonna
dynamic,
use a very personal example. There's a clothing brand called Telfar. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's like more of a designer brand. They, I don't know if they still do this because I haven't shopped from them in a while, but I know they used to use dynamic pricing for clothing drops. And the way that they used it was if like a bunch of people were adding this jacket to their cart, the price of that jacket increases. But a lot of people aren't adding this pair of jeans to their cart, so that price can decrease because the way they were also like working with it was like there were like set caps and for both ends kind of, and then like it was connected all together. So like because they only have, I don't know, let's say 5 items that they're dropping, it's like if some, it's like percentages. So if something goes up, another thing has to go down. So it is, in that circumstance, it can be beneficial to the consumer if you don't want the thing that's the most popular, then you're paying a cheaper price because they made the thing that's more popular. It's very much like going back to traditional supply and demand and but bringing that to the consumer. And that kind of does, it's more of a theoretical thing, but it's like if we all did dynamic pricing for everything, it would be great. But it in this late stage capitalism, it's just never gonna really be that good for a consumer.
No, it's the price is never going down.
Well, yeah,
And
in our world, yes,
for a Ticketmaster event, the price is never going down
exactly, exactly.
because there
No,
is no alternative.
no,
You're not saying that okay, because the Taylor Swift prices are going up, the Beastie Boys price is going down.
yeah,
That's
no,
not
not
happening.
the way it works.
It's one thing, and
Exactly.
if you tell me that okay, my um, floor seats are going up, so
Mhm.
my 300 section seats are going down. Yeah, now you've got me close
Yeah,
to actually considering it. But the prices are not going
no,
to go down in the
no,
300 seats; they're going to go up too.
yeah, because everything's in demand
Right? Yeah.
because we already knew it was going to be in demand before we started. So this is like, I think that what they're doing with the quote unquote dynamic pricing is they're just, it's, yeah, it's technically speaking dynamic pricing, but it's not dynamic pricing the like economic theory that like has
It's
certain consumer goods
it's
in mind. It's the like, let's call price gouging this more palatable
it's
term.
it's legal scalping is what it
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
and
basically.
ever the internet put scalpers put scalpers out of business.
Absolutely.
You have your Ace tickets and those types of places.
Hmm.
The one company that I've dealt with more recently is SeatGeek,
Yeah.
and I like SeatGeek, and I
Hmm.
use them to resell Red Sox tickets.
Yeah.
And they have what I would consider to be a version of dynamic pricing, I guess, where um, they'll suggest a price for me to sell the tickets at, but
Yes.
they won't necessarily sell it at that price.
Yes.
They will claim to be, if they can get more, they'll get more. If they can't, they
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure I believe that. I think it's kind of a lazy way to do it. If I want to really pay attention, then I'll put it on a little bit of a higher price, and then as the game grows closer, if I haven't sold the tickets, then I can drop the price myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Um,
think like that is, I mean, those, I don't know SeatGeek like specifically how they work, but I do know Live Nation and or Ticketmaster because they're just the same company at this point. They have their own resale platform
right,
and
right,
and I know that they charge fees to
sure,
resell your tickets. So it's
yeah.
like you buy a ticket for $200, you something happens, you can't go to the concert anymore. So you're like, okay, well, this is still kind of popular, so I'm going to sell it for like $230. But then
You're not
Ticketmaster
getting
Live
to
Nation comes in and says, well, we're going to take 10% of that. So
at
23 of those
least,
dollars is at
yeah,
least. So that's ours. So
yeah.
yeah, it's like they're just anything they can do to make more money off of you, they have established that they do that.
The other thing that I don't know if people are aware of, and I didn't realize it was quite so universal, I don't
Mhm.
think, at least it is in Boston, um, is teams themselves for games are pricing tickets based on the opponent,
Yeah.
which for people of my generation reminds them of the ticket books at Disney World. Are you familiar with that?
I know a
The
ticket book.
A
Yeah, the
the A
E
through E
ride,
tickets? Yes.
an E
You,
ride.
you
Yeah.
buy your ticket book and you get like seven A's, but you
Yeah.
get one or two E's that you
Yeah.
had to. For Space Mountain was an E ticket ride, but you could only go on it twice. But
It's very
you know,
funny
you
because
could
they
do the
still use that terminology, and I don't think anyone knows, like, or most
where
people don't know where it
where it
came
comes
from, but
from. But
I know where it
that's
came from.
yeah, there you go. So yeah, you know, you could go on the teacups as many times as you want with your A
Yeah,
tickets, but
exactly. It's the
um,
old version of like a fast pass. It's like, okay, well, you get the e-ticket, you get that's your one. You can only use
yeah,
it. Are you sure that's where
that's
you
right.
want to use
That's
it?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
So anyway,
so
I don't know how this is going to benefit anybody, but I'm glad that at least somebody is trying to look out for the consumer.
yeah,
We need more Elizabeth Warrens out there.
absolutely. I do think it's hard because obviously nothing is going to change immediately. Like you said, they're going to appeal this till they can't anymore. Till the cows come home. Um, but I do think like okay, Ticketmaster and Live Nation become two separate companies. The best thing that comes out of that is that now artists don't have to use Ticketmaster, but they still are mostly booking through Live Nation. So they're still, it's not like we go back to having like intimate mom and pop owned concert venues. Don't know if that's a saying, but I'm making it one.
No, but it's but you do the one advantage that you have if that becomes the case is okay. Um, SeatGeek and Ticketmaster now are competing
Yeah,
to get the artists to sell
absolutely.
those artist tickets, and that can only benefit the consumer.
Absolutely. And it also means that the to stay relevant, everyone's technology has to get better. And so like everybody's process of how we get tickets has to get better. There's just naturally going to become more competition. Um, Unfortunately, I think like I think we're a little late with this. Not a little late, but like in terms of concert ticket prices are not going to decrease, in my opinion. As much as like I'd like to say this is solves all the problems, there's still very greedy people in the world. And as much as, let's say, an artist is trying to do like the right thing or trying to like do what's best for their fans, it's still, we've now shown there are people who are willing to pay these prices to go to these concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, it's all of their savings and like it's a horrible situation for these people. And I think the artists might see it that way. But at the end of the day, the artists are surrounded by record labels and agents who, and other people who are trying to make as much money as possible and concert venues still. So
But
I don't know.
I would be curious. You know, you're a decade removed from your peak concert going activity that you had in high school,
Hmm.
and I would be curious to know what the prices are for those types of shows
Oh,
now,
I'm aware.
and how much are they?
A lot of money. They're still in the like, for a single ticket, they are in the, I mean, it's a big range, but they're in like the 150 to probably
Oh my
500
God,
range still. Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Really?
And
For like a
that's
Fletcher
why I
or
don't go to concerts anymore. Macy and I spent combined about $300 to go to Fletcher. Probably more than that, actually, with all the fees and shit. Like,
yeah.
it's not like I
Like my recollection of going to see like Phoenix at the House of Blues was
$30.
40, 30 bucks, 40
Yeah.
bucks, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Those days are gone.
No, it's not. I mean, that's like there's such a big gap. It's like the wealth gap in the country. There's such a big gap from like the low level artists who like aren't making any money and maybe like get a couple beers from the venue to like come show up and play, to like what anyone who like is on the radio at all is. This is something that I think we have talked about a little bit before, maybe in one of our like festival things, but this is something generally about the music industry that has changed, not just because of Live Nation and or Ticketmaster, but because of streaming. Most of artists' revenue comes from touring. So that's why you get so many artists too not doing like just one leg of a tour. Like it used to be you put out an album, you go on tour for that album, you make the next album, you go on tour for that album. Like that used to be the cycle. Now it's like you put out an album, you go on tour for like 5 years. Like you're doing the same. Maybe it changes a little bit because you put out an album too in that time. But because of streaming, you're not making record sales the same way you are. Obviously there's exceptions, Taylor Swift, but like for the most part, most of your income is coming from touring. Even like merch doesn't even add up to what you get from touring. So it's like I think that's another reason why we're not going to see like a major decrease in concert prices. Um, but that's also why a lot of artists have started doing like you go on tour, but then part of your tour is doing music festivals, like music festival season from Coachella until September. Um, because not that those are cheaper, but comparatively, if you're spending $150 on a GA day pass for a festival, at least you get to see more than one artist rather
Yeah.
than a $150 concert ticket. But it's still like it is insane. Like that's why I don't go to concerts anymore is because I cannot afford it at all. Like not, and I'm not talking about going to a Taylor Swift concert all the time. I'm talking about going to these smaller bands that I like that when I was in high school, it was at most like $50 to see one of these smaller bands and it's just not. I think we saw Group Love. I think I saw Group Love for like $15. They were doing like a small like
At
fan
Berkeley?
thing. That was Young the Giant. But another one that was like $15. And like it's not that these bands it's not that there's not still like bands that are in that range of popularity, but it's just there's not like I mean I think most people here listening would know at least one song by Group Love and one song by Young the Giant that was like on the radio. Like there's still bands like that that are that level, but their concert tickets are $150 now. They're not $30. And that's
Gone are the days when
insane.
Bonfire will play at your house
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a reasonable price.
for a reasonable price. You don't want to pay that. Um, But yeah, I think so there are like other factors involved here besides the Live Nation monopoly. But that is a huge part of this.
Hmm.
Because it's like the same thing with everything now. It's like fees. What are fees? Can you break down for me your fees, please? Because I'd like to know what like
You're
it's
certainly
not like
not paying your tech people because it keeps breaking
yeah,
down.
literally. Literally, it's like, yeah. So, I mean, I would love to hear kind of we've talked about what it used to be like for me. I'm curious, like, because you've lived longer, what has it been like for you? Like, what is this? Could you ever imagine this is like what we'd be dealing with when you were, I don't know, like a teenager in college or something?
No, no. I mean, I'm thinking about, well, I mean, when I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
I went and saw Springsteen 4 times in a month,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I probably didn't pay more than uh, $30 for a ticket. I can't
Yeah,
imagine that I did.
that's
And I
crazy.
know when in Montreal we scalped,
Yeah.
um, and just drove up and said let's just buy tickets outside the arena. And again, I don't think we probably paid all that much for it. And this is 1980, I
Hmm.
believe. Um, I didn't do the concert scene the way you did.
Yeah.
I mean, I went
And
to
just generally, I mean, Bruce
I went
Springsteen's
to,
a huge artist.
NRBQ at clubs, uh, Lone Justice. I mean, but that was in a club. I mean, it was in a club in Providence, and it was
Yeah.
one of the great shows. And but you saw some of those types of things too with the great clubs in Boston when you were on
Yeah.
your 100 shows in 4 years or whatever it was.
I have no idea.
Um, uh, that, but a lot of them were just little clubs that you were finding bands that you were so that the internet streaming
Yeah.
explosion
Yeah.
helped more bands get heard,
Yeah.
um, and which led to you going to see them because you were hearing them on Alt Nation or whatever.
Yeah.
um, for me you know it was whatever was playing on FM radio, and then when I was at Dartmouth it was okay, what are guys that live in different parts of the country
Yeah.
listening to that they get me to listen to? But for the most part, it was Bruce and the Stones,
Yeah.
and a lot of it's interesting. I remember going to do a shoot at the Brooks School in North Andover when I was probably you know 45 or 50, and it was a boarding school and a beautiful day, and the dorm windows were open, and they were listening to the same music that I listened to when I was in high school and
That's
college.
so cool though.
The Allman Brothers
Yeah.
and that type of stuff. But but as far as going to shows, you know, I don't recall ever feeling that I got priced out of anything.
Yeah.
Um, but I also wasn't I wasn't trying to go see the Stones. I wasn't trying. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
I
mean,
went to see
Bruce
Bruce in the
Springsteen's a
'80s,
big artist.
but I mean,
Not, I mean,
I
yeah.
saw him. I saw him at yes, I saw him at Madison Square Garden, Boston Garden, the Forum in Montreal, and some arena at in Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
But those were the biggest places anybody was playing at that time. Nobody was
Yeah.
playing baseball stadiums except for the Beatles.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, but it wasn't prohibitive. The cost, I don't believe, was prohibitive at the time. But I mean, the person I saw the most was Southside Johnny, and I went and saw him 10 or 12 times, just because it was fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that was kind of in college, there was a little club in Burlington or outside of Burlington, and like we didn't know a lot of the people that were playing there, and we would just like check on their website every once in a while. It's an independent club, and some of like the bands I still listen to today were just we were bored and we wanted to do something other than like drinking in a dorm room. So it was like, okay, let's go to this concert, you know? And I feel like that's not,
and you did a lot of that in Australia too.
yeah, but I feel like that's not really reasonable anymore to do. Like that's not, I
I
mean,
mean, pay the $20 cover charge and go in and listen to music.
yeah, I mean, I think like there's probably still some smaller clubs that do stuff like that, but to stay open, it's you can't do that. You have to make sure everybody's drinking a lot more alcohol if you're trying to do that. Like there's so many other
Yeah,
factors into that. Because I was trying to figure out like because I feel like I bought most of my concert tickets online still. Like that I wasn't going to a box like a in-person box office
mm.
to get tickets. But I for the most part, I feel like I was buying the tickets from the band's website or the venue's website. And there were small, like, especially in Boston, there were kind of these mini conglomerates of like nightclubs. So, like, in Alston and Brighton, almost every venue there was like owned by the same company, but it wasn't Live Nation. It was like a
Hmm.
local, I usually think it was like a British guy who came over and was like, I want these clubs to be like a little bit more. So I'm gonna buy like these three. It was Brighton Music Hall. I can't remember the other two, but like he put some money into them and then he was like, so I would buy, but you bought the tickets from like their website, not from
Yeah. Well,
Ticketmaster or whatever.
that's the other example of that that's current that we use quite often is the Melody Tent at the gate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those tickets are it's very rare that you pay more than $100 for a ticket to the
Yeah.
and it's are you seeing first run pop acts? Not really, but you do they do have great country people who play there. Brett
Yeah.
Eldridge plays there is awesome.
Yeah.
And and it's a great place to see a show. But yeah, they're not there's no Ticketmaster involved there. It is you either get your Melody Pass
Yeah.
Melody Tent membership and get your 10% discount, or you buy them straight
Yeah.
off the website, but it's all off the website. Or
Yeah.
you can actually go to
And
the ticket
ticket the
office.
box office. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the thing that I guess would be something I just kind of thought of, like the difference with that. Because you're right, the Melody Tent does still get, I mean, Brett Eldredge, big country singer. I
yeah.
think the
I mean,
difference,
I'm not going to go see Chicago, but
no,
I
that's,
could, or the Beach Boys,
but I
whatever,
think
whoever's remaining.
whatever like conglomerate they've brought together of them. But it is also, I think that the difference now between when I was seeing shows and definitely when you were seeing shows is like it's almost like you said, you get these kind of like, I don't know, there's a lot of cover bands that play the Melody Tent. There's a lot of kind of like you said, there's a Chicago, there's it's different. Or you get these bigger artists who are kind of like excited to do these things to bring, they don't need the money maybe as much. So it's like, okay, let's do like a tour of the East Coast bar music venue scene. Like I remember when I was younger, I played this place. I want to go back there, play that place again. But you don't get that. You kind of don't get the like rising people going to those places anymore.
Right. Not
That's the
anymore.
difference. Is like it's people that are either like I don't know, like I saw Guster at the Melody Tent, probably again like $20 a ticket, but that was like they weren't I mean, Guster's an interesting one because they do have like Cape Cod connections, but still like that was what that tour was, is like smaller,
I think
summery
I
venues
think
kind
we
of.
saw. I think it was the Melody. I'm sure it was the Melody Time where the first time we saw Hootie and the Blowfish,
Yeah.
and Train opened for them.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And so talk about band on the way up. And
Exactly. Like it used to be, and like I was thinking about like I saw who did I s- was they oh like I saw Bleachers at one of those music venues that I can't think of the name of, but it's like those were small clubs. They were not like House of Blue level. Like I don't know how many people, maybe 100 people in there, but like that was Fun had already existed. For those of you who don't know, Jack Antonoff was in Fun, the band that did that We Are Young song that got really big. And then he started Bleachers, and then he started producing Taylor Swift. And I saw him after he had already produced Taylor Swift at a 100 person nightclub for $40. And like he was popular at that point, but still like rising. That doesn't happen. Like that level of artist isn't playing these smaller venues even anymore. Like you're still
Have to say, the Jonas Brothers at the Melody Tent. Talk about on the
Jonas,
rise.
yeah.
Come on.
Jonas Brothers opening for Ali and AJ. Yeah, that was something. Um,
I think we've talked about that before, but okay.
yeah, I mean, great father-daughter memory of ours. Um, but yeah, it just I don't know, it all feels really sad
Well,
and
maybe this is the first step to bringing it back. I don't think
yeah,
so, but it
hopefully
might be. Um,
we can hope.
you know,
And I think there are a majority of artists like don't want it to be this way. They want their they don't want to play to an audience of like rich people that don't actually know their music.
I
They don't
actually,
want their fans to starve to get tickets to see them. Like they don't want that to be the only two options of who's coming to their concert, you know?
I wouldn't be surprised if um, the next thing that they try to do is streaming concerts only to venues. So you have somebody performing in Madison Square Garden
Oh,
or in a
yeah.
club, whatever, but they open up um, a club like the Brighton Music Hall is
Yeah.
is airing that concert.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean,
They do
they do it with the
technically do that
opera. They do it
already.
with the opera in the movie theaters
Well, they
where
also do, they have like virtual concerts. Like this is a big thing in, I want to say it started in Japan, but I don't know if that's true, where it's like the pop star isn't a real person. She's a cartoon. So the concerts are on a screen. Like you still go to a
yeah,
club, but
okay.
it's screens and like
Yeah. All right. So that's what I'm
it's
talking about.
cool, but yeah, I just don't know that's not what you want. It's art. You want to, I don't know, you want to feel it. You want to be there. There's like
Yeah,
an
no,
atmosphere thing.
I know, but that's why I'm saying to do it in the club and you do
Yeah.
it right. Um,
Well, that's why
and
everyone
with
makes a concert movie now
the
too.
quality of and I wouldn't do it that way per se.
Okay.
I would do it one camera,
Yeah.
full stage,
Yeah.
and now it's up to you to look at what you want to look at. And you're in
Yeah.
this club, and I don't know. I'm just saying with the quality of video, what it is.
Yeah.
Um, would you pay $20 to go see um, Springsteen? Would you pay $20 to be outside the Gillette Stadium in a club that is where Taylor Swift is playing in the stadium, but you're outside? You're part of the crowd that's there, but you're not actually in it. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a way to make it
Yeah.
more
I
because it
don't
would
think I
still be
would.
palatable to the artist. Um,
I just feel like if that's the option, like my alternative is if that's the options I'm given is spend thousands of dollars to see Taylor Swift or spend $20 to go to a club and watch her on a screen. I would pick third option, go to a Taylor Swift DJ night for $20 and dance with my friends.
why can't you dance with your friends at the $20
You can, but it's not.
club?
I feel like it's weird. It would feel awkward, I think. Because
I
there's
don't
not
know.
the intimacy of screens to me they take away something. It's like a soul takes it
Yeah, see,
away.
that's what I guess what
So like
I'm
a
getting
DJ
at.
set is at least there's like we're all here in this together. We're not watching something, we're just like dancing.
What I'm getting at is, and I'm not saying this is happening right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the quality of, I mean, you have 3D movies. Why couldn't you have a 3D concert venue?
Yeah. I don't think it ever get I
All
don't know.
right,
We'll
we shall
see.
see.
We'll
That's
see.
right.
I could see. I'm
All right.
trying.
Well, we're
Yes,
getting off
pros and
tickets
cons.
now. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyways, but yeah, I think it's also, what was I gonna say? I don't really know, because I do think a part of the problem is that not just that Ticketmaster and Live Nation are connected. I think even if Ticketmaster and Live Nation are separate products, there's still, it's almost like they both have a monopoly in their areas individually.
well, that's what you
Yes,
need more.
they're
You need more clubs.
right. Or you need Live
You need
Nation to not be able
like
to
you've got
buy more clubs and stuff
Live
like
Nation
that.
doesn't own MGM. I don't believe they own the that new place in Brighton, the whose name I can't think of right now.
Hmm.
Um, so these, maybe new clubs are the answer. That um,
Yeah. But also, I mean, that's an insane investment. Like, who's gonna do that?
well, MGM did.
Yeah. I'm
That's
sure there's people, but it's,
there's
yeah, that is
other
a,
entertainment venues getting involved in doing this type
and
of
I guess
thing.
also
So
if you have, now there's more of an opening because it's like they've said they can't do this anymore.
right,
So there's
right,
more of a chance that artists book through you or whatever. Yeah.
right.
So there's kind of hope, but I don't think it's, unfortunately, ticket prices aren't going to go down. I don't
No,
think,
no.
but they may not go up as rapidly as they
As
currently
dynamically.
are. As dynamic. Yeah, that pisses me off. That's not what dynamic pricing is. Anyways, let's move on to our smile
You
of
got
the
any
week.
smile? You got a smile? You
I
must
have
have a
a
smile.
big smile that is unfortunately probably not going to be as funny as when it happened. It was probably one of those you had to be there moments, but I'm sure the three people who were there are listening. And my smile is that when I was in Los Angeles with my cousin Lily, my aunt Cindy, and my mother, Lee, just so you know her name too, um, we were driving back from the Rose Bowl because we had gone to a market kind of thing that they have there. And I may or may not have taken an edible. That's for me to know and you to not know. And I may or may not do this thing where I read everything I see out loud sometimes. Lily has also seen this with tomato season. But I was reading license plates and I just go all of a sudden they don't realize that like this is something I'm doing. So like in my brain, I'm like, they know I'm reading license plates, so it makes sense that I'm gonna say this out loud now. I just go spit, 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 spidunk because the license plate didn't say spidunk, but in my mind that's what it said. And I couldn't, I was trying to read it, so I was, you know, verbalizing that. They just all were driving and they just all like stop talking and just stare at me.
Were you in the front seat?
Yeah. I everybody just starts laughing and I don't really know like why it's funny yet because in my brain it still all makes sense like what I was doing. And then I got it when they started mocking me, what I sounded like to them, that I sounded stupid. So, anyways, that was my spedunk. And then that was like the first afternoon of us all being together. So there was a lot of spedunk used on the trip. So if you ever hear me say that, that's what it's from. Now you're in on the joke.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, geez, that was, we had a couple more moments like that. There was another
That's good.
license
I'm glad.
There was another license plate that likely looking back said Big Ange and Lily just went but no D. There was no D, but she added one. So yeah, everybody read out license plates. It's a really fun car
Very fun.
activity.
Very fun.
Anyways, do you have a smile of the
Well,
week?
my smile was not quite as humorous,
Okay.
although my smile was when mom came back from
Oh,
Los Angeles and I picked her up at the airport. So that made me happy.
oh, that's so cute. Yeah, we had a good time. Maybe
Excellent.
maybe we should have Lily on and we can talk about our trips.
Adventures in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we'll tell you about tomato season or something. Anyways, this has been Girl Dad. Please email us at
Girldadpcast@gmail.com.
share with your friends, share with your family, unless we're your family. We already know.
Rate
Yeah.
us, like us. Let us know if
Yeah.
you don't like us. Let us know if you want somebody to be
Maybe
on with us.
don't let us know if you don't like us.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely. We
want
need to know how
that.
to get better. We got to take
Oh, okay,
criticism.
okay. Yeah, healthy criticism. Don't just tell me you hate me. Or maybe do. That's like, what's that thing that helps the
Harsh.
algorithm, I think.
Okay.
Because if we get a bunch of I hate Abby comments, maybe that'll help.
Yeah. Okay.
No, don't do that. I'll
Yeah.
be sad. This is a
All
horrible
right.
outro.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Abby's going to wrap it up now.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, girl. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed the episode, follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, rate us, and leave a review.